Low impact and toning. Can you start sidestepping? I have all of my gadgets out. I've got my chair, my Eric's pad, my foam roller, my ball, my hula hoop, my twisty, my towels. Like, I feel like it's my treasure chest, right? Like, I don't know what I'm going to want to go to, but that's what makes it like I don't have to have a workout pre-scripted, right? Give me 2-step touches in each direction. Which way do you want to go? Two, two. So we can already increase speed depending on how light, nimble everything's feeling. The more your legs are softened, and we call that like athletic ready. So athletic ready position, you guys keep going. I'm going to turn to the side to show you profile. So athletic ready position just means that you're already in this committed partial squat. Now, that means the tailbone's not, we're not in slack spine with loose forward hanging, like jutting chin. It is a command of all of your parts. And now change from your double step touch to your grapevine step, right? This is a very interesting thing about your body's fluidity. How hard is it for you to get your foot to step back behind the other foot? If you are trying to keep your hips totally square to the front, you will find that your leg feels like it's in your way. So this is one of these times. How do we go from being like really commanded, tension lined, athletic ready to flowy, loose, and goosey, right? So your hips rotate in order to let the foot have its freedom, right? Now, back to your double step touch. Double touch. Can you? So think about a square, okay? You're tracing one part of your square. I'm actually going to build my square on behind me. So this would be my front line. You can either go forward or backwards. You're going to do a quarter turn. It doesn't matter which way you quarter turn. So you tell your body, okay, body, quarter turn. And now you've just put on another side of your square, right? I already know that I need to close in the back part of my square. So the next time I'm going to rotate, same direction, quarter turn. My back's to you. If your back is to the screen, don't worry about it. You're staying with your double step touches. Get ready. You're going to close off the last line of your box. And if I've lost you along the way, right, just know you've got one more quarter turn to get you starting right back to where you were. And if you're like, I'm not back where I was, then that means you probably didn't do all of your quarter turns in the same direction. Yikes. Okay. Was that confusing? I hope not. I want you to draw your box the other way, and you're not going to put repeating double step touches. You're going to go right into complete the line, quarter turn, complete the next line, quarter turn, and you'll end up facing me again. That's a lot of information. Try, go, right? Go, go, go. Marching feet. So if you did nothing except stay in marching feet mode because the double step touch and the quarter turns were like way out there for you, doesn't matter. You may not have noticed what I did because you were focusing on you. I did one of my boxes backwards, and then my other box I did forward because it's creative freedom, right? Power knees up, pull, pull, belly to spine. Oh my goodness. So this has totally perplexed me. I have a client that I was working with yesterday. We only train for about 40 minutes. All right. And we start her training because we're in knee rehab. We start her training with the bicycle for 10 minutes. So because where I am, keep lifting one side. Some of the machines, bicycles, cardio machines, have the heart rate sensor handles. So I got her on the bicycle yesterday and I'm like, you know what? I said, let's just see what your start heart rate is, so we have an idea of what I need to bring you to, how hard we need to work you to get you to your 70% of maximum. Switch legs. That may not mean anything to you, and it doesn't need to, but I'm going to tell you something that might make your eyes like bug out, right? So she holds on to the sensors, and within a few seconds, bam, the heart rate number picks up. And I look at that. She's like 144. She just walked into the gym, sat on the bicycle, and did about 10 revolutions, held the handlebars, and her heart rate was beating at 144 beats per minute. And I, back to the other side, 2, alternate, 2. So I gave it 30 seconds or so to see if it was just a high reading, and then it would pick up a normal pulse, but it continued to climb. So I thought, maybe the machine's broken. And I say to her, how do you feel? Like, does your body feel jittery? Do you feel like, can you feel your heart rate beating? Sorry. And she's like, shake a leg. She says, well, I feel fine. And I said, okay. I said, I have to tell you though, your heart rate represents that there's something very wrong with your system. I said, this may be your working, like what your heart rate does, but I was like, your heart rate is beating almost 100 beats more than mine each minute. I was like, I would think you would feel fatigued. Shake it out. So she gets off the bicycle. We're just now loose, right? She gets off the bicycle, and I said, for the sake of running the experiment, let's just see if the bike is malfunctioning. Marching feet, rock step, okay? So I get on, I'm like pedaling away. And of course, it picks up my heart rate immediately. And it's not malfunctioning. So I tell her, I'm like, listen, I said, if you've not had a stress test done, like you might want to check the system out in your body, because what it's registering to me is you're in an overworked state. So whether it's your adrenals, like I can't even begin. Are you picking this up? One leg is the lead, and it just keeps changing direction from corner to corner, right? 2 more. So we get through her workout, right? And like, that's all I can do is suggest marching feet. Of course, she's been to the doctor, right? She's on blood pressure medication, of course, right? They give blood pressure medication. I'm like, well, did they actually give you a stress test? Did they test to see if your if your arteries had any blockages, and that's what's causing the high blood pressure, and that's what's causing the elevated heart rate? She looks at me and she's like, no. She's like, I know when I go back to the doctor, they're just going to put me on a higher dose of blood pressure medication. Like, these are conversations that I have every day with people about their health, and it scares me for them. And it scares me for them because it's not that the medication may or may not be appropriate. It's that there's no education about how and what could you do that would actually help you strengthen a muscle, the heart, right? How could you naturally, through diet and exercise, marching feet, change some of what's happening in the system, if it's even that? March out. So now, march in. Now's when I'm going to enlist my little gadget on the floor to help me with the pattern, right? So for you, imagination, right? You're going to look down. I know I stopped the march out. I want you to imagine you're in your track, right? Out, in. It seems simple enough, right? So now that's your pattern. You're going to actually step forward. When you go to step in is when I want you to move forward. In, step wide, move to the imaginary next block, imaginary next block, imaginary next block, right? Walk it out. Walk all the way back to your space like you're starting fresh. Get back into your marching feet. Even if you don't have a big space, I just happen to have, I could probably put 15 links of this ladder in here and really get it going. So now you're going to switch to the other lead leg. Get in, step out to straddle, get in. The beauty about the straddle out position is that it takes you into a very gentle squat, right? And not only that, this helps to teach, do one more, back yourself to your start position. This helps to teach not only rhythm, but spatial awareness. You're on one side of your imaginary ladder, right? And you're going to essentially do your double step touch, right? Double touch, get to the other side, double touch. You're moving on slight forward angles, right? Double touch. Now, the ladder, you get to go backwards with this movement because this is really easy to control. Back it up, double step touch, double step touch. You can increase your stride length if you don't have anything in your way. When you get to your imaginary ladder, it has to be very precise so you don't kick the ladder. And this is a slowed down version of what we would really do. Marching feet. So turn to the side. Imaginary ladders in front of you, right? Depending on how you've created your space, I've got all this space off my right side. So it's going to be my right foot that leads, get in, get out. And now I'm on tiptoes, get in, because the ladder is actually supposed to help you with your agility. It is a speed movement. Release and relax, walk yourself back. Get to the other side of your imaginary ladder, get in, get out. And now, if your body's feeling nice and light, then you just get to go faster, right? Get in, get out. So I'm actually doing about 10 steps and walk it out. Back to your space. Start on one side of the ladder. Again, you could put a rope down, one of your stretch out straps. You could put one of your exercise bands down to have like this visual thing that you want to cross over, but it's all rhythm. The outside leg, here's where things get tricky. It's only the outside leg that's going to step into your imaginary ladder, right? So you stop, step across like you do, right? Come out, step across. This one seems really silly, right? The hips get to turn, step across. It's like you're just marching your feet and then you're changing directions. It's a 4-count step, 4-count step. Walk yourself back to your place. So that's 4 drills. Ready to start again? Start wide. Think now, even though it might not feel really natural, now you're going to try to have a little bit more speed, which means you don't get to be on your heels unless your body, that's all it can produce for you. If you can be light on your toes, right? Get in, get out. Pick one foot as your lead foot in and out of your ladder and keep going. 5 more. 1, 2, you're looking down. 3, 4, athletic ready, and walk it off. Back to your start place. When I first start working with people with the ladder, I don't focus on speed because the ladder makes you have to really be accurate in where your foot is so you don't kick or step on the slats. The other leg leads, right? So in, out, out. The less you think about it and the more you just let your body go in, out, the better it will be. And relax. You are now going to do your double step touch on slight diagonal line, right? Double touch. Now, if you don't have to set the foot down on the 4th step, then it's a 3-foot pattern with a little catch pause to balance, right? Step, 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 touch, step, step. And this is backwards. Step, step, pull, step, step, pull, step, step, pull. And just for the sake of demonstration, right? You guys, you keep going, right? If you can. And when you get to the end of your imaginary ladder, right there, that's 10. Just to show you what I mean. So you can be in marching feet for a second while I demo what the real speed would look like, okay? The real speed would look like this. The feet move so fast that you're not even thinking about it, but because it's reactionary, right? So now we're back. Do your crossover step. The outside leg goes into your imaginary block. Untangle your feet. Outside leg into the imaginary block. Untangle. It's like twist, 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 twist. This stuff, release and relax, marching feet. If you don't have an object on the floor, if you've never worked with a ladder and you didn't put anything on the floor to give you a frame of reference, then you have no idea how accurate you weren't or were with your drills, right? The accuracy is that, the challenge, I should say, is heel tap, is that we have a dominant side. And when we do pattern work, before you even know that your body has switched back to its dominant side, you'll be going along, and then I'll look at the limb and realize that it's the other leg that took over, and somebody has switched their lead leg. They don't even realize that they've switched their lead leg. And that's why I stay so focused in on these drills with people, trying to get the body so that you are commanding it and it's just not going willy-nilly where it wants to go. Little kick out. All right. Your kick is so much more than you just doing this. This looks like I'm doing a kick, right? You're like, well, my leg's coming up, it's extending out in front of my body, except we want clean lines. So it is called knee lift, extension, chamber, set. 4 counts. Your speed comes into you being able to balance and shake a leg, shake a leg. The leg needs to pull up from the knee first, and then you just shake it out. You shake it out with the intention of retracting it, and that's called recoil. 5, 4, 3, 2, release, relax, grab your light weights. I only share stories about the things I get to experience with other clients as a means of giving you reference points for things about your own body, right? So when you notice that something's not working right within your own body, like so it used to be back in the day, excuse me for the Velcro, right? It used to be back in the day, old school time aerobic class teaching, is before we ever started the workout, and I don't know how and when we got away from this, we used to start by monitoring the pulse. If you've never taken your own pulse, like some people can't even feel their pulse. There's a learning aspect. Where is it? How many seconds do you need to count it? What's it actually supposed to be? When you exercise, where should your start point be? If you don't really care about where your start point is, based on age, what should your working zone be? Like all of this stuff has a relevance to whether or not you're wasting your time or being too aggressive with what you're trying to do. You know, I've got a 75-year-old client who comes in and I've had to break him in a way. I've had to recondition. Okay. My shoulders love, love, love this lateral raise. If your shoulders are crabby, then your arms are going to bend. You're going to depress your shoulders, right? And you're going to try to lift with the elbows. But more importantly, you're going to make sure that you're not in a forward rolled shoulder trying to lift the arms, because then you get this pinch. So down the shoulders go. Expansion from right to left side. If you can do full arm extension, that's where you are. And this is why I always go light, 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 light. I go light because everything else in the course of my day, I cannot even tell you how many hundreds of pounds of weight I move every single day. Racking people's weights in the gym, racking my own clients' weights, right? So now extend the arms, turn the palms up. So for me, I have to be really careful to not put my front shoulders in tweaked mode because they lift so much. So with your arms coming overhead, if they're out in front of you, that's fine. Ideally, you want your biceps coming up towards the ear line. And if this is too much for you, then keep them low. Do whatever version helps you get through this. Just looking for a little burn. Open it up. Think bicep curls. Full stretch. Bicep curl stretch. Here's the tricky one. Flip the hands over, lower the shoulders, and I want you to move your arms as if you have a little windshield wiper. Push, extend, turn, curl, extend, lower the shoulders, flip the hands, windshield wiper, push, turn. It should feel like intense. And you might even want to drop your weight, drop the shoulders, right? And try to just move through the movement minus the weight. One more. Open it, palms down, shoulders down, belly and buns, windshield wiper, and release. All right, back to getting the heart rate up. So do you want to put your towels down or your little twister board, or I'm done with the ladder for me, so I'm just going to get that out of the way. But you all know that I love, love, love the little rag training. So if you have space and you have a floor that lets you have slide ability, then grab yourself a towel. You could even put a big towel down, put both feet on the big towel, nice and wide, and you can, with one towel, slide from side to side, believe it or not. All right, so you pick your version. If you feel like your knees and hips have done too much, right, then maybe you grab your hula hoop. Maybe you just walk around your house for this next 30 to 60 seconds just to stay in motion, right? So now, if you're not having too much drag, then you probably can increase your speed. Something may or may not be happening here. If you're gliding with me, maybe you had to put paper plates down, right? You should feel like your quads are working, right? But I want you to make sure that your heels are not lifting off of the towel or the plates. It's really that your heels and your ankle bones push from side to side, right? Because we don't want to turn the leg. That's a whole different thing, right? We want lateral glide. We can move forward and back. Me moving forward and back still has my feet pointed forward, right? I'm not turning my foot. I'm allowing the right muscles to work. 5 more. Fast. Push. 4. Push. 3. 2. Release and relax. Figure out your next gadget you want to use. I'm going to pull my little twisty in place. And I will say this as an alternative to something for your legs to do. If you're like, I just don't want to work my legs anymore, but yet I have enough energy and enough strength to do something else, then you do your walkouts to plank hold and walk back. And that's going to be your next 30 to 60 seconds. Walk out, walk back. For me, I'm going to get my core twisty going. Here we go. So twist, twist, twist. I took this out on the weekend and did several minutes of this out on the dock when I was doing my stuff. It was just so neat to be out there. The weather, it was actually toasty over the weekend. It wasn't windy, but the water was like glass and the seagulls were out there, and I just was out there in my own little world, my speakers, in my little ears, listening to my music, just twisting. And I thought, this has got to look really funny to anybody who's like just looking down. That's kind of what happens to me when I get out there. There are moments when I'm doing something that I know that it just looks funny, right? But I was like really enjoying it. And not only that, have you ever tried to do your twisties standing straight legged? It's a lot harder. I don't know that it's really preferred, but some standing fully extended, some standing bent. And then, do you know that you can do it single leg, which is even harder because what happens? Balance. So Marlene, look out. Marlene, I have to be careful what I show and encourage, because so many of you are like, yeah, let's try that, right? But my body immediately went to my stronger leg side, right? And again, I have no shame. I have no shame about demonstrating something to you where I'm less proficient at it. And the things that I'm less proficient at, right? I have to really quiet my body, collect my thoughts. And so in class, when I'm talking to you, that's really hard to do, right? So this is my weak side, 5, 4, 3. Same with the hula hoop, right? I can't stop at 3. I have to get the 5, 2, and 1. You don't have to have a ball, but if you want to incorporate your ball, bring it into the equation. If you have a chair, sit on the chair if you don't have a ball, right? Some of you are like, yay, ball training. So if you have your ball, just start with a few of your bounces. If you're sitting in your chair, right, then you're not going to get the bounce. You're going to sit still and you're going to march your feet. So for those of us on the ball, let's do 10 more bounces. As you're on the ball and you do the bounces, if you want to lift your heels completely off the floor or keep the toes loaded and just lift the heels, make sure your abs are engaged, your shoulder blades are pulled down, your body's nice and rigid so your spine isn't getting compression, right, in the wrong way. And now 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. We're all going to imagine that we're sitting on a chair and we're going to our marching feet. March, 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 march. Here we go. The opposite arm swings forward to the lifting leg. March, march. And now you get to decide just how high can you swing your arm? How high can you swing your arm? And anytime you're on the ball and you feel like it may or may not be too much, you can always move to your chair or some other firm object, right? So pulling on the chair, you will be able to create what your really good tension without fighting the element of balance here, right? On the ball, there's just that one extra component of having to stabilize as well. So really push the arm up, drive the other one down. Where are your shoulders? What are your abs doing? I'm intentionally doing this because it's harder work for my body to not fall off the ball while I create this instability here. Switch. If your body is doing this because it can't control the movement, right? Then maybe you get your arms out of the equation until you can quiet the body, and you're going to keep alternating. So now we're going to add on. The knee comes up, the opposite arm is up, right? Extend the leg, switch, stretch the parts, push the leg out, flex the foot, switch, full stretch. Here's what you should feel your body feel like, okay? So say you're here, you're extended, the arm isn't where it's supposed to be, the chest is collapsed, even if you're sitting on a chair like this, right? You should put yourself in the position as if you were trying to stand up. Don't do that, But if you did just stand up off of your ball or your chair, get yourself resituated. And as you go to do the next side, opposite arm to the lifting knee, right? Push it out. If you have the thought that, how would I actually stand up? It pushes your weight where it's supposed to go versus not thinking about that. So think about it. Run your little test. Do you want to stand up? Push into the heel, right? What do you have to do? It requires a significant amount of balance. Of course, don't sit down. Okay. All right. You're done with that for a minute. Back to your light weights. The thought just came across my mind that maybe you all feel like I'm a little relentless with our shoulder training. I don't know. I feel like I'm very careful with our shoulder training, but I do know that it is a focal point of my training. Okay. So you're going to get into what kind of looks like this partial squat, partial deadlift. Okay. You're holding your weight. So your spine needs to be nice and long. Stick the booty back, but keep the legs bent because that's what helps you control your lumbar. And you're going to pull your arms away from the middle. When I see this movement done in the gym and I work with people who are not used to recruiting this postural muscle, the rear delt, often when the arms lift, they kind of pull back towards the hips, which is the wrong action. I want you to imagine that someone's standing on your ends, okay, and gently helping you raise your arms to parallel to the floor, not above, right? And when you start getting to what feels like 3/4 of your lifted position, shoulder blades are sliding down and the upper middle back is retracting. And if you do that, you will not be able to float the arms way up. If you need to change your leverage, come down on your knees, right? Push, the buns are back. If that's too much, drop one of your weights and get onto 3-point position of an assisted arm, right? Do a couple of those and then switch to the other arm if you've gone to single arms, and now you should be on fire. 3, 2, and release. Now you do need your chair. Grip strength, forearm strength is what we're going in for now. Believe it or not, in all the times that I've been running these classes, I do not think that we've ever done this next move. Grab a little water break. All right. So I've turned my chair this way for a reason, because I want you to be able to see the profile. The traditional wrist work, right? Forearm strength is really just this action of rocking the wrist, but you need to have weights. So you're going to, if you don't have the little, things that I've got and you're holding traditional dumbbells, that's fine. What I want you to do is put your wrists right at the edge of the knee so that the hand can rock, right? And you're not trying to lift the wrist. And now here's the rest of the part that's really tricky. You're going to shoot your hips back and you're going to lean forward, draw your shoulder blades down and tuck your elbows in so that your arms are aligned with your legs. And now you lower the hands and you rock the hands back up without letting the wrist pull off the leg. So you don't have to keep looking at the screen. You can kind of look down and look at your own hand. If I were with you, okay, I'd be standing off to the side, kind of by your elbow, and I would be gently reminding you, get your shoulders out of your ears, right? Just by you sliding the shoulder blades down, that's all you have to do. And if your elbows are off the thighs, guess what you're not doing? You are not retracting the scapulas. So again, sharing story time, right? I'm with the client yesterday. I set him up on a machine that is assisted pull-up machine, right? I've offloaded his body weight and we've given him 90 pounds of extra help, right? So he might be lifting 70 pounds. Flip the hands over. With the arms coming the other way now, shoulders out of the ears, this should be the easier of the two versions, right? So you hold your stems. When you lower when the weight lowers, because I don't have a traditional dumbbell in my hand, you have to just imagine. When you lower the wrist, let your dumbbell release the grip so you feel the dumbbell go right to the tips of your fingers, shoulders out of the ears, right? Your body is leaning forward. And now take your fingertips, pull your fingertips against the stem of your weight, and then roll your fingertips towards your wrists. And then lower the wrists, open the hand a little bit. You have to be very mindful. What are your knees doing? Everything should be tracking parallel line. Shoulders out of the ears, belly tight, curl the fingertips towards the hand, and then pull the knuckles towards the wrist. Release. The reason why we're doing grip strength and forearm work is anytime we're holding objects, so whether we're unloading groceries from the car, carrying the basket of laundry somewhere, I've got a client that has a water filter system, so she carries these salt bags, right? For any of us that play racket sports, we get these weaknesses through the forearm because we spend a lot of time doing grip work, but we spend a lot of time in grip motion, but yet we don't do anything to strengthen our grip. So this is specific, right? Do two more. Pull, pull, pull. Release. I'll get back to the story about my client. Release and relax. You can just come into your chair squats, right? Because we're in story time. Sit and stand. So it's a client of mine I've been training for over 20 years. And he always says to me, he's like, one of these days I'm going to have muscles. I'm going to have visible muscles. And I said, only if you learn how to recruit, right? And so I put him on this modified assisted pull-up station, and he's really struggling with it. So I thought, did I misjudge how much assistance he might need? I'm standing there cueing him, telling him what to do, shoulders down. Sherry, I think you might have just run the test. We'll find out at the end if that was a success. I think it was success. So you guys are like, what is she talking about? Anyway, yeah. So hopefully you all can't see Sherry, but I can see her, which would be that we successfully set the right gadgets, right? So nonetheless, I give him a movement. I'm telling him, draw your shoulder, because a modified pull-up. So pull-up station is you in hang mode, pulling yourself up, but the machine is assisting him, right? So all he has to do is move his body. Nonetheless, I'm telling him, get your shoulders out of the ears and pinch the upper back muscles. Are you ready to be done with these? Okay, stay seated. Grab your light weight again. 2, 3, 4 pounder, depending on how strong you feel. I want you to think about your tricep. Okay, so we're going to do two versions of triceps. Weights together, push them up. How hard is it for you to work your arms up over your head? Right? Now, personally, I like to interlace my hands, right? And if I was working with dumbbells, I would put the side edges of the dumbbells together so that I felt like they were really pushing into each other. Because I have this flat strap, I can interlace my hands, which makes me feel like everything's nice and tight. So just know we're not going to do too many of these, okay? And then we're going to change the movement. So belly to spine, sit up nice and tall. If you had a mirror, you would be bending your arms enough so that your weight would disappear behind your head. That's important. You get the full bend and up. Give me 2 more. So he fatigues out and then he steps off and I get on the machine. Mind you, he outweighs me by about 30 pounds. I didn't change the weight. I get on the machine and I'm doing pull-ups. And then he looks at me and I look at him and I'm like, listen, I know that you're stronger than I am. I said, the thing that we have that differs is that I have a very good ability to command my parts to activate. That's the only difference. So this is why, though I use lightweight, I'm strong. I'm strong because my foundation, I can put my body in alignment. And when I get my shoulders out of my ears and I start moving my body, I'm able to squeeze my upper middle back without my body rounding. These are relative things to everyday life. Movement number 2. I'm just going to turn my chair the other way, right? Here you go. One arm is the worker. If you want extra work, stretch the legs, put the other hand in a little bit of a support position so you don't feel like your body's getting sucked down to the floor. What if you actually don't have a chair like this? Like you're like, oh crap, my chair's in the other room. You don't have to be laying down. You can brace yourself on anything without the laying down aspect and just do nice clean tricep kickback. So a lot of words have been used. First and foremost, if your spine is rounded and your shoulder is rolled forward and you've got this really tight gap between your jaw and your shoulder, right? And not only that, what if you're looking at the screen like this going, yeah, that's exactly what I look like. Turn your body to the side, lengthen your parts, and then drive it. You've got to be able to squeeze the shoulder blades back. That's how you work your tricep. This is the beginning zone for every single exercise, whether it's chest press, lat pull down, tricep press down, shoulder press, bicep curl, squats. It is the setup. Other side. You decide. Are you activating your buns while you're laying across your chair? That's a lot harder to do this because so many more muscles are being activated by you being on the chair. What if your chest is down and your arm is piking up and you're like, well, my arm's going high. That must be better. No, because look at the angle that your shoulder's in. We want the body in length line. We don't want the arm piking to the ceiling. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Now set that weight down, push yourself out. I want you to grab your mat, bring yourself down. As you come to the floor, you need your towel, maybe a little pillow for your head. Grab a little swig of water. So we did the modified pull-up, and then I put them on a pull-down machine. And again, we ran the same experiment. I set the weight. I thought, and it's not my first day with him. So when I set the weight, it's based on weight that he's lifted before. But yesterday he was really struggling. And that's an interesting thing about you can't, when you go to the gym and you go to pick up weights, or whether it's here or whatever you're doing, right? You can't rest on the laurels of what you did before, because sometimes you just cannot get your parts coordinated and you don't have control, so that the end result is that sometimes you have to just be willing to scale back, to perform the movement properly, and wipe clean the mind that said, well, last time I did 15 pounds and why am I only able to do 10 today? Like sometimes it's just what the body presents you with. Pull back. All right, I've got my little Eric's pad for my nice little head support. Legs are up. If you'll start just by letting those legs roll side to side, tightly bent, this should just ease the back muscles, and it should start preparing you for those phenomenal abdominals that I love to work from this position. If you do not want to work and you just want to be in a little stretch mode, then you're not going to take your legs all the way to the side, okay? The further the legs go without your arms assisting, the more the abs are working, okay? So let's start by elevating the feet a little bit more. Keep the knees drawn towards your body more, like, so if the knees are over the hips right here and you're doing your roll, I don't have a problem with that, so long as you don't feel like you're in back strain. So with the knees over the hips, the abs are really working. If you want to protect yourself more, then you pull your knees a little bit closer to your chest and you still are getting your abs worked. All right, give me 2 more to each side. Try not to let the feet just hang. You want the feet a little bit higher than the knees. This is your last one. Come to center. Now, your abs, they are endurance muscles. So if you just put your feet down, pick them back up. You're like, but yeah, you spend so much time talking that I just feel like I want to take a rest while you're talking. It's part of your work, right? One leg is extended, one is tucked in. Hopefully you're not looking back behind you. So what do? Set the neck. Do you need your towel or your pillow? Right? Pull the belly in. And now the leg that's closest to you, I want you to put your hand on it. And I want you to start pushing the leg. And you're like, oh, but no, right? So you're going to push the leg, but your abs, I want you to pull the leg to you while your hand is pushing it. Oh my goodness, there's your workload. And now bring both legs in. That's your stretch. Ready? Set it back up. This time, switch legs, right? Look at your thigh on this bent leg, right? Put your hand to it. You could even put both hands on it. Your hands are trying to push your leg away, but the abs need to engage. So I want you to try to pull your knee to you. Pull the low back down nice and tight. This is not easy. I know it's not. Stay with me for 3, 2, both knees in, give them a hug. Take your time, roll yourself over. We're going to do a little quad activation, right? By focusing on knee extension from a face down, hands overlapped, forehead on the hands. And maybe you might not put your forehead on your hands until you actually witness what's going to be happening here, right? But I want you to straighten both legs. The feet are not going to be touching each other. They're about hip width apart, but the legs are straight. Forehead on the hands, squeeze the buns, and now from right there, go ahead and get yourself set up, right? So just get into this position. Your hands are overlapped. If your shoulders don't like this position, then I want you to bring your little pillow towards your head and put your forehead on it. And then you can put the arms wherever the shoulders allow it. But if you're with me right now, your feet are stubbed toes down into the floor, so your knees are not on the mat. The legs are fully extended with feet, what's called flexed position, no knees touching the mat. This alone should really dial you into feeling the muscles in the front thigh. And now, in an alternating pattern, I want you to just gently bend one leg so the knee comes down, re-straighten it, squeeze the buns. Bend the other leg, re-straighten it, squeeze the buns. And that's what you're doing. You're doing an alternating softening of the knee, because that's when the muscle work relaxes, and then re-straighten it to activation. And let's go through 5 more. Touch the thigh down, pull the thigh up, squeeze the buns. Thigh goes down, up, squeeze the buns. Squeezing the buns is a really important part of this because we want to maintain that pelvic tilt is what it's called. Okay, squeeze. 2 more. Push, squeeze, push, and now release and relax. Bend your legs. Spread the knees. And then with bent legs, you may have to be looking at the screen now going, what's she doing? Okay, so with your legs bent, think stretch. This is us doing our windshield wiper stretch from a face down position. All right. And the reason why we want the knees apart is because we want the leg to float without running into the other leg. So this is a sneaky version of internal and external hip rotation. All right. And now, with the knees apart, bring the sides of your feet together. Right? And then imagine this. How can you start trying to straighten your legs and then rebend them? They don't go very far, right? Like as you bring the leg down, the legs want to separate. You're going to try to keep them together, and that's where your stretch is going to be. Right? So you're like, well, where exactly is the stretch? You should feel like the stretch is along the inner thigh, tight up into that hip joint. So from here, some version of bent leg, right? Trying to pull it down, but it's your body's resistant, at least mine is. Pull yourself up to your elbows. If that's too much, then you just need to bend your legs tighter, right? So as you start pulling your feet to the floor while you're on your elbows, there's your stretch. But you're going to take your hips and you're going to pull your hip bones to the floor, and we're going to take our shoulders, pull your shoulders out of your ear line, spread the knees and try to pull the feet down to the floor. Like it's crazy how tight we are there, right? And separate the feet, let the legs relax, roll yourself to a side. One more little stretch if you have time. 30 seconds each leg. It's going to be for our piriformis, and I'm going to give you 2 versions of it. Here is your most basic version, is you keeping one leg straight and you pulling the other leg across and you just trying to bear hug that leg. If that is enough, then stay there. If you want more, lay the leg, I'll face you for a second, lay the leg down, right? And then bend the bottom leg. There's a whole different intensity to this figure 4 versus the modified pretzel stretch. So you have to decide which version allows you the cleanest line, right? So the arms are pushing you. Even if you wanted to pick your buns up and glide your hips front and back to get some extra knee and hip stuff going, you can twist, set it down, other leg. Cross the leg over, bear hug. That is significant. This is our most modified pretzel stretch here, and it's still enough. I can feel it. I like this one though. I like to get all like bunched up, and then I clean up the line, shoulders out of the ears, pick up the hips, and then I pull my hips back. As you pull your hips back is when the stretch will happen. Not only that, my wrists, right? Like look at my foundation. My hands are under the shoulders. So my shoulders aren't being strained, but my hands are certainly getting, my wrists are getting some extra stretch. Release, relax. Job well done, you guys. I know we did a lot today, right? I said a lot. Hope you guys have a great day.